this is a story I felt really sort of needed to be told about Vashon, and it's the history of the four-way stops. I think a lot of people on Vashon just take the four-way stops for granted, and certainly you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. And I think the history is interesting. It's fascinating, actually. So, um, just going to take a look and take a walk down Vashon Highway to some of the four-way stops because they really make the island what it is. I think, and I think the hidden history of it is fascinating. Um, we're starting here at the south end. This is Burton, and not a lot of people talk about what goes down in Burton because it's all the way on the south end, and you can't see me, but I have air quotes because it's all the way on the south end. It's not that big a deal, but a lot of people don't go down that far. So the Burton Coffee Stand is sort of a central figure, and there you can see Sandy's Store and the Burton Inn, um, both of which are critical businesses for the island. In fact, the Burton Inn has changed hands recently and been repainted, and I believe the ghosts have been exorcised. I think there was a big exorcism there to get rid of the ghosts. Sandy's Store recently changed hands as well, and they don't sell sand. They sell sort of dry goods and things like that. But a very popular four-way stop on the island nonetheless. We've already moved a little bit north, and this is, the high school four-way stop. It's very interesting because it was the first four-way stop on the island. I think it was founded in 1724, I believe. And this is, the interesting thing about the four-way stops that no one talks about is that even before electricity, these four-way stops existed. And there used to be people that came and lit the candles in the flashing lights, and there would be a person there that would usually a young boy would be up on a ladder and with a little stick. I forgot what they call those sticks with the little round thing on it to block the candle light so that the candle would be flashing. And but the little boy was too young to handle flames, so they would, if the candle went out, it was a really big deal because you'd have all these horse accidents. And this one here by the high school is the first one. And obviously the high school wasn't there yet, obviously, but there it was. And, it's very popular in terms of the kids hang out at that four-way stop. But just to go back to the late 1700s when these things started, those people were the fire tenders of the four-way stop, were revered, and it was a really big deal for the young person to have to go get them if the fire went out because they went regular schedules based on how long the candles lasted. But it was just electricity made things way easier. Let's just say that, okay? Just leave it at that. And the other thing about this particular four-way stop is you can't see it anymore, but the propane stand that blew up when wasn't quite 9/11, but it was a big deal on the island when the propane stand there's where it used to be. And I don't think it was a terrorist activity, but nonetheless, it was a big deal on the island to have that explode. It was probably the third largest explosion on the island in the last 50 years, and it was a big deal. It's right behind that big fir over there. And you can also see that this is a five-way stop, which is unique. I think it's the fourth largest five-way stop on an island in North America. And I just think we could do a whole thing about the five-way stops on the island, but we won't because I just don't have the time or the budget to get into it. It was enough to get the grant to write this film on the four-way stops. Now we're moving north on the island, and this is the coffee roaster stop, which was almost ruined by the Vashon Arts Center. When the Arts Center was put in, there was a big to do, I think is what they call it, about the four-way stop, and the art center didn't want there to be a four-way stop anymore, and they were moaning about it, and they wanted to take it down. And I don't quite know what they wanted to put in its place, because really it would just be one huge traffic accident. As you can see, the mass amount of traffic that it handles could never be managed by just stop signs alone. And I mean, that's the case on everything on the island. You need these four-way stops. They're integral to the functioning. That you can see, like, the madness that would ensue if we didn't have four-way stops. And yeah, so but anyway, thankfully for, sanity prevailed, and Art Center was never able to do away with the four-way stops. And yeah, that was really big news. And here we have let's see, I think this is the northernmost four-way stop on the island, and it is, I just apologize for filming it during such a high traffic time, because you can't really get the serenity of the island if you're thinking about moving to Vashon. I know this might turn you off a little bit given there's so much traffic, but it happens sometimes during rush hour that there's this many cars. But again, you can really see the need for four-way stops. And this intersection is fascinating to me, because it not only has the hardware store on one side, which, if you live here, is not actually, they don't sell hardware, which is good, because there's actually two other hardware stores, but they call it the hardware store, which is, I know it confuses a lot of people, but they basically exist to host open bar nights to raise money for various island activities, and to have off-island people who don't know where else to eat an opportunity to eat. And but then the ivy-covered building is a butcher shop called the Ruby Brink, which does not sell rubies either. They sell meat. And I don't understand why they didn't call it the meat shop, but nonetheless, it's a butcher shop, and it's there on the corner, kitty corner to the hardware store, and it's really quite excellent. And then there's the bank, which is, where they keep the gold and the treasure of the island is in that bank. Everyone's got their safe deposit. I can't get into the detail about it because of the security that's required for the bank. But nonetheless, the very popular bus stop, bank, and this four-way stop, has been in existence. It's the longest continual string of four-way stops that Vashon has. These four-way stops are the longest continuous string of four-way stops in the continental U.S. And no one talks about this. That's why I'm filming this, because, we have a lot to be proud of on this island, but I don't think people are really proud enough about our four-way stops. I mean, they're gorgeous, they're functional, and they're just rich in history. If you go back to colonial times when, four-way stops were pretty much unheard of. Vashon was leading the way. This is way before K2 left, and just leading the way in what's possible in traffic management. As you can see, given the immense amount of traffic, it does a really, really, really good job. So, yeah, if you have, any kind of questions about moving to the island, or what it would be like to live here, or, how we managed, or any of the ancient, the secret history, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty, and I look forward to touring you around the island sometime. Yeah.